Welcome to the control room simulator on Elsworth generating station. What we're seeing today is the reactor core isolation cooling system, RCIC. It is located in the panel 601, right next to the right left of P603, the reactor display. So over here we will talk about RCIC in general, the activations, the seal-ins. We will also talk about how to preheat and set up reactor core isolation cooling for RPB injection. First off, I'll talk about what RCIC is. Reactor core isolation cooling is a system in a boiling water reactor plant that, in the event that the water level cannot be maintained by normal feed water pumps, the reactor isolation cooling, what it does is that it takes some portion of steam from the reactor pressure vessel, redirects it through a steam turbine, which then powers a water pump. This water pump can take water either from the condensate storage tanks, which are down here, or from the suppression pool, which is done by default. In the case of an emergency in which the reactor water level cannot be maintained, the system will automatically enable. It will automatically start injecting water into the RPB. However, it will not warm itself up automatically. So that is what we are going to go and teach today. So first off, I will talk about some of the positions of the switches. So over here, up here, you have the warm-up isolation bypass. You have the steam line isolations. You have the pot drain. You have the suppression pool exhaust. So RCAC has to exhaust the steam from the steam turbine. So it exhausts it to the suppression pool. You also have the turbine trip switch, the steam to turbine switch, which runs up the turbine. You have the RPB injection switch, the condenser, the test bypasses, the minimum flow bypasses, and the water lag pump. Over here, you also have the isolation seal-ins. To warm up reactor core isolation cooling, we need to have steam in the system, as reactor core isolation cooling has a steam pump that is, a steam turbine that is a turbine that spins through steam. It needs to be warmed up. You cannot just push steam into the line and expect it to function. That is because steam is very high temperature usually, and when it comes into contact with metal, so that will be a pipe, in this case, a steam pipe or a drain pipe, that metal tends to expand, thermal expansion. Not only will the steam condense in a cold pipe, but it will also cause the tube, the metal piping, to expand. This expansion is thermal expansion. Sudden thermal expansion, called thermal shock, can cause the reactor core isolation cooling lines to crack due to stress. And we want to avoid this as it is a steam system. You don't want a crack in the pipe because it will leak the steam out, and we don't want that. So, as of right now, um, the way of starting reactor core isolation cooling will be to firstly wait until you have steam pressure. So we will do that. Okay. So now that we actually have some steam pressure, some steam, some reactor pressure, we can actually begin starting warming up the RCAC. So to preheat reactor core isolation cooling, you have to place one or more isolation signal seal-in switches into reset. These are these two switches. I will place one of them. Didn't sound the alarm. Next up, I will place RCIC valve 8 in open. Valve 8, if I can remember, it's this one over here. So now that that is open, I can then open the steam line drip pot drain valve 54, which is over here. It's this valve over here. And we have to wait until it is full open. Once that is full open, we can now throttle the RCIC valve 76 steam line warm up isolation bypass into open very slightly. So we need to do this very, very slightly. We don't want to introduce a lot of steam into RCIC. We just want to introduce a smidge. Once that is done, you need to wait for about 15 minutes until RCIC warms up. So I will do this by putting a countdown of 900 seconds. And we will wait until it warms up. Now that the 15 minutes have passed, we will open RCIC valve 63. It is inboard isolation valve. Once that is open, we will now close the bypass. Okay, now that the bypass is closed, and if the steam line pressure low clears, then we can place all of the isolation signal resetters in normal. There we go. And now we can proceed to line up RCIC as normal. And there you go. That is how you set up RCIC for injection and pre-warming it up. This will conclude this small portion of the reactor control room. There will be more videos similar in vein to this one, explaining how to start up the reactor, its systems, and how they function.